21. Could we have roll call, please?
Yes. We have 11 present, 1 presiding, and 0 absent.
Thank you. Would you all join council members and Commissioner Sorge with our prayer and pledge?
Thank you, Madam Chair, fellow commissioners. Almighty God, we implore you to look upon us this night and guide us this night as we make decisions which so greatly affect our community at Butte-Silver. Direct our thoughts, words, and deeds so that we please you and best serve our fellow citizens. Amen.
Amen.
I pledge allegiance to the flag
Of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. At this time, I would call for any public comment on any item that's on this special meeting agenda. And this is just a different one than the one you all are involved in. Seeing none, I'll move on to the call for a special meeting. J.P. Gallagher, Chief Executive, is calling for a special meeting of the Butte-Silver Council of Commissioners for Wednesday, December 29th, 2021, at 7:30 p.m., preceding the Committee of the Whole meeting in the Council Chambers, Room 312. The purpose of this meeting will be to request authorization for the Chief Executive, J.P. Gallagher, to sign the letter of understanding between Butte Police Protective Association and the City County of Butte-Silver related to the changing of the Patrol Division schedule. Item 1, communication number 2021-609, Ed Lester, Butte-Silver Sheriff, requesting Council of Commissioners authorization for Chief Executive Gallagher to sign a letter of understanding between Butte-Silver and the Butte Police Protective Association related to temporarily the changing of the Patrol Division schedule. Sheriff Lester, the floor is yours.
Madam Chair, members of the council, for the record, my name is Ed Lester. I'm Butte-Silver Sheriff. This is a special meeting. I believe you have in your packets the letter of understanding that's been reached between the Butte Police Protective Association and the administration of the Sheriff's Department. I have discussed the change in schedule with not only the union, but the Budget and Finance Director, Chief Executive, the County Attorney, and the Personnel Director. The union and my administration realized we were not going to be able to staff our normal patrol shifts in the way that we normally do because we've lost some officers over the past 6 months. We've had some people that joined a trucking company, 2 people. We had one go into retail business. We had one that joined the military. We have one working security at the courthouse, and we've lost another officer to retirement as of today. So, as you know, it takes a while to train those folks, and it takes basically a year to get people trained up and back out onto the street like they normally would be. So we have come up with this, the union and the administration have come up with this schedule. It's called, it's a 12-hour schedule. It's called the Pittman schedule. And it's in there, it outlines, the letter that I wrote outlines the days of the schedule. This is just asking for your authorization to staff our department with the Pittman schedule until we are able to restaff our patrol division adequately. And we will also be in contract negotiations before this 6 months period runs out. So we have an automatic look back anyway after 6 months, but we'll be looking at it periodically as far as the budget goes as well too. So this is just for your authorization to staff the 12-hour schedule, and I'm happy to answer any questions.
Thank you, Sheriff Lester. Any questions for the sheriff? I did want to clarify one thing. I talked to Ed quite a bit earlier this week, and I believe you said that you should be fully staffed by April or so, I think.
Well, we have 2. The trouble is you can send people, you can't hire people and send them right to the academy right away, so we do have 2 spots in January that are filled. We have 4 spots in April that we will fill. We also have 4 spots in September that we will fill, depending on the need for those officers. But again, it takes a while even after they come back from the academy and go through the field training program. So this could extend for a while, but that's something we'll approach through negotiations as well.
Okay, thank you. Well, with no further ado, I would ask Commissioner Frederickson to make a motion.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I would make a motion to concur and place communication number 2021-609 on file.
Second.
We have a motion and a second to concur with communication 2021-609 and place it on file. Is there anything on the question? Would all the members please vote? Would anyone care to change their vote? Would the clerk please record the vote?
12 yeas, 0 nay.
Motion passes. Thank you, Sheriff Lester. At this time, we will adjourn this meeting, and I would ask for a motion to do so.
Motion to adjourn. Second.
We have a motion and a second to adjourn. All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Now we regroup for our next meeting.
Oh, Barb.
So let us know when you're ready. Clerks?
Everyone needs to check in again. Everyone just needs to check in again.
Oh. Everyone please check in again.
Barb.
We have roll call, please.
Yep. 11 present, 1 presiding, and 0 absent.
Thank you. We will forego the prayer and pledge. At this time, I will call for any public comment on any item on this agenda. Anyone care to make a comment on any item that's on this agenda? And that would include anything that was in the committees as well. So, any comment? Okay. Seeing none, last call for comments. Report of the chair, I just want to say we had a wonderful Christmas party. I think everybody had a good time, and we got to meet Justin's newest little one. And I hope you all had a nice Christmas, and I'm looking forward to see you next year. Okay. Other than that, we've got a pretty good slate of things to do today. So I will start with section 1, bid openings, public hearings, or presentations. We'll start with, we have 2 presentations. Item 1 is communication number 2021-581. Brad L. Belke, Commander 1590 Search and Rescue, requesting Council of Commissioners concurrence for time on the December 29th, 2021 agenda to present on the 1590 Search and Rescue request by for a mill levy pursuant to Montana Code annotated 7-32-253 sub 3 and approval for 1 mill annually and to place the matter on the primary ballot in 2022. Mr. Belke.
Thank you. It's about midnight. Members have been up all day. Most have worked an 8, a 10, or a 12-hour shift. They've handled all their chores and their family responsibilities, and it's time for bed. They need some rest before they start again the next day. Unfortunately, this is when the pager sounds, and they get a page to come to the search and rescue building for a lost hunter. No more sleep, no more rest. And if the search goes longer than a few hours, then no work tomorrow. That means lost vacation days or lost wages. Meanwhile, they will respond with their own trucks, their own gas, their own equipment, and they'll put themselves at risk for a stranger in conditions that are often terrible, in the dark, in the cold, often in weather so bad that even the team is at risk. They respond to the mountain or disaster site. There is no delay because everybody knows the national motto for search and rescue is that search is an emergency. My name is Brad Belke, and I've been a member of this organization for 42 years. You see some of the members here tonight. There's members here that have been members longer than I've been, and there's members that are in their first year. But the 1590 has served the community of Butte-Silver and adjoining counties since 1963, a period of 58 years. During that 58 years, the group has consistently maintained around 40 members on its roster, handling all types of search and rescue, crowd control, disaster and emergency services, assistance to law enforcement, and a variety of community programs. Since our inception in 1963, we have supported our organization financially through a variety of fundraisers, including raffle tickets, concerts, and most recently an annual bucket drive on the corner of Harrison Avenue and Dewey. We have also received a small annual stipend from the Sheriff's Office and an occasional corporate or government grant. What we have done over the past 2 decades is operate a search and rescue on an annual budget of less than $20,000 a year. an amount that is significantly less than what we need and also less than the budget of other nearby search and rescue organizations which have already gone on the state-approved mill levy system. This includes cities like Lewis and Clark, whose search and rescue currently receives $200,000 annually, Madison County, which receives $146,000 annually, Gallatin County, I don't know if we want to compare to, but they're over $1.1 million. Anaconda receives 2 mills. We're going to ask you for 1 mill tonight. To accomplish what we've done over the last 58 years, the members have put in countless hours begging for equipment, grants, and other funds, and by repairing and operating search equipment that is sadly out of date and was often received secondhand, like from a gold mine that closes or they've retired this vehicle. We take it, we repair it, we put it back in the field. The problem with this is not that we've had to be frugal, but we've spent countless valuable volunteer hours soliciting these donations and then repairing equipment that's out of date and is in regular need of maintenance. That's the big problems. First, much of this equipment is terribly out of date. 2 of the vehicles we operate now are more than 30 years old. And if we had the funds to purchase new technology, not only vehicles but other equipment, we could provide a better emergency response. Secondly, as a volunteer organization, no member of the organization has ever received any pay. Let's be clear on that. We only have a limited number of hours a year, a week, a month that they can provide these services. We have to provide the search services, the emergency services, and we have to have the time to train and then to do repairs and maintenance, and asking us to do additional time for fundraising is just too much of a burden. Those are hours that we could spend preparing for something more important. We are also asking you to think about the financial cost to the individual members. Every member needs a 4-wheel drive truck, and one in good enough condition that they don't become something we need to rescue as well. All the costs of upkeep, fuel, and any damage that might occur to this vehicle are borne by the individual members. Snow searches require snowmobiles and tracked ATVs, and then there are radios, batteries, tires, lights, clothing, rain gear, snow gear, water gear, specialized life jackets for rescue, first aid kits, chains, winches. I could talk for an hour on the list of equipment I have in my truck right now. In fact, all of this equipment is purchased and maintained by the individual member out of his own pocket, because the only thing the group provides a member is their handheld radio. Beyond equipment issues, the members' largest contribution to the search and rescue remains their time. We've had 1-hour searches, and we've had searches that have lasted 4 straight days. And as I said earlier, this often requires a member to spend vacation days or simply to lose wages to participate in a search. This is in addition to the time spent in maintenance before and after a search, and then, of course, the training. Of course, searches can occur at any time. They rarely occur when it's convenient, and that includes searches on Thanksgiving Day, Christmas Day, and Easter. By being on a mill levy, we will be able to take advantage of the new and changing technology that allows emergency responders access to equipment that increases their effectiveness on responses and significantly improves our ability to save lives. For example, drones. They're drones with night vision that are within a reasonable budget. We have GPSs available now to us that are part of a radio system that allows me to track them on a computer board like this one. This is incredibly important on a search because a member is often going into a new area and he's trying to tell me where he's been so that I know that area has been searched, and he's trying to describe this to me on a radio, whereas if we had this equipment, I would know exactly where he's walked. And I can tell you that there was a search in the last 3 years where we closed the search, came back to town, we debriefed immediately, and discovered that where the member thought he'd been is not where he'd been, went back and picked up the person. So this is equipment that be very valuable to us. We're always in need of new medical equipment, victim transports. We'd like to own some thermal detectors. This has become a common tool of search and rescue, as has night vision we don't have. ELTs are for finding downed airplanes. We have some of those, and we've earned those, but we need more. We need avalanche locators. Last year, I believe I got a call from the sheriff's officer. Someone had gone through a lake out here, and they were there. How do you get to them when it's a frozen lake? You can't take a boat out there because of the ice, and there's specialized equipment for this, and we know where it is and we know where to get it, but it's $3,600 a unit. There's none in the county right now. The fire department was very efficient and effective, and they were able to do the rescue. But this is the kind of thing we'd like to be having ready for us. And of course, if you're doing something like that, you need special immersion protection clothing as well. Search and rescue is changing. We need the training and equipment to keep up. There are more people in the mountains than we've ever seen before, not just campers and hunters, but also extreme athletes, people who are getting into places and predicaments that are technical, isolated, and dangerous. Snowmobilers are getting deeper and deeper into the backcountry, and avalanche danger has increased dramatically. We need the equipment and training to keep up with these services as necessary. Let me give you an idea of what I'm talking about here. Between 1972 and 1982, we brought out 22 dead. Between 1982 and 1992, that number reduced to 8. Between 1992 and 2002, the number was further reduced by half to 4. The improvement comes in large part from training. We meet twice a month, and one of those meetings is dedicated to training. There's also additional trainings in the months scattered here and there around avalanche season or hunting season or rafting season. We're trying to cover as much as we can so that people are equipped and have the skills necessary to save lives. We also encourage non-group training, but given the costs and time constraints, we're falling behind on this. For example, 20 years ago, approximately 60% of our members had advanced medical training such as EMT or first responder. At the present time, that number is closer to 20%. The main reason is the cost of continuing education for those certifications and the cost of liability insurance. Most of the members had to let their certification lapse because they couldn't afford the fees of the insurance. So we're looking to improve our equipment in a lot of different ways and a lot of different things. And as I can give you another example of that, I could tell you about mass casualty active shooter training. A couple years ago, members of this organization, about 24 of us, took part in the American College of Surgeons course on active shooter casualty treatment. We all know how many shootings there are in this country these days, and the sponsor even requested at the meeting that our members take over responsibility for training in Southwest Montana. We had to turn them down because we didn't have the time or the funds to recertify. We couldn't afford the equipment to train others or the supplies to respond in the event of a mass casualty incident. We had the opportunity as a part of this class to view footage, actual footage from Iraq and Afghanistan where people were shot, soldiers were shot, and they were treated on the scene with this new equipment. It's miraculous improvements over 25 years ago. We're trained in that, but we don't have any of this equipment. One of these C-LOX blood clotting gauze bandages is $54.76. We should probably have 100 of them. We don't have any. Tourniquets are $30 to $35. We watch those in the same videos and how effective those are being. And these are things that we need. All of our members have first aid kits available to them every day. They carry them in their cars. And that's an added benefit to the community that I wanted to talk to you just briefly about tonight. We don't have a meeting where at least one of the members doesn't tell us about a response that he made individually during the past 2 weeks between meetings. We respond to accidents regularly, fires, heart attacks. Recently, we had a member driving up Main Street who heard the police call for a heart attack in a house, ran inside and did CPR until the fire could get there. These are the things you get with guys that are trained and know what to do in an emergency and can be there to render assistance to law enforcement or fire or any disaster response. The fact of the matter is the time where the services provided by this organization could be provided by community volunteer fundraising is over with. The members of the organization are overextended and need the financial support provided for by Montana statute to maintain and improve the necessary services we provide. Support that would allow us to spend more time in training and searches and less time in maintenance and fundraising. We ask for your support of our request for a mill levy assistance in the amount of 1 adjusted mill annually to continue indefinitely for the support of search and rescue and disaster response in Silver Bow County. Thank you.
Thank you, Brad. Any questions for Brad Belke? Commissioner Sorge.
Thank you, Mr. Belke. I just want to say thank you for all the services you do provide. I know over the years I've probably had to use the services, So thank you very much. Could you tell me about mutual aid? How many mutual aid calls do you get with smaller counties, or do you
Mr.
handle
Belkey?
mutual aid?
You
Let's say like
know,
Beaverhead
what
County.
happens is, we've responded to all of the surrounding counties at one time or another. And so there's a lot of that goes on. For example, we responded to a hang glider accident at the cow camp a few years ago. It was 60 miles for the Dillon Search and Rescue to get there. It was 15 for us. And quite frankly, when we got that individual to the hospital by life flight, they said they had 20 minutes and he was dead. Dylan would have never made it on scene in that time. So we do respond a lot. Sometimes it gets really busy in certain areas, and sometimes you go a year or two without doing any outside assistance.
Thank you.
Any other questions? Commissioner Shea?
Thank you, Madam Chair. I don't have any questions, but I just want to thank every one of you for coming tonight and spending some time and coming here with an ask, because a lot of times we don't know what people need until they let us know. And so I really do appreciate it. I appreciate everything that you do for the community. A lot of us have only ever seen you run in traffic for the parades, and that's all well and good, but there are some really serious things that you respond to, and it can't be easy to do, so thank you.
Thank you.
And I just want to say the same thing. The dedication to do all this for all these years without any compensation is almost miraculous, and I do appreciate it. I sure hope I don't ever see one of you guys myself, but but the only question I have for you, Brad, is so if you got some money like this, can you use that to leverage grants? I mean, you're a nonprofit, I'm assuming, so that
We are a nonprofit
right.
corporation. We do have C3 tax status. I think we're the only search and rescue whose commander slipped that in past the IRS. I don't know for sure. I know none of the other ones that I know have it. But yeah, we work at everything. We send out grant applications all the time. We've done everything that we could legitimately get away with over the last 15 years, especially to try to keep paying our own way and not having to come in and ask for this money. But we're out of time. We're just out of time.
And I would think that if you got a sum of money, you could use some of it to leverage grants.
Absolutely.
For matching, that type of thing. Thank you very much. Thank you all, gentlemen, for coming tonight. I would, I'm sorry, Commissioner Frederickson.
Thank you, Madam Chair, and thank you all for here. Mine is more of a procedural question for the county attorney on what our next steps are.
County Attorney Joyce? Good question.
Madam Chair, Commissioner Frederickson, so what they're asking for is that to impose a mill, you have to have an election. So you can either have that election started like through a petition or amending of your charter or by passing a resolution. So the next step would be for the council to pass a resolution to have this put on the ballot. And it could be put on the either the primary ballot or the general election ballot. The election can't be sooner than 85 days before the resolution passes, so I think you would have time to put it on the June election. And I believe Mr. Belkey intends to submit a new communication for next week's regular meeting to ask the council to introduce pass a resolution to put this question before the voters.
Thank you. I look forward to that communication and voting for it.
Thank you, Eileen. I appreciate that little bit of information. And I don't believe we need a public hearing or anything like that to present it. Okay.
Madam Chair, that would be up to the council, but I think since the question will be put before the voters, you probably don't need a public hearing.
Okay. Very good. Thank you. I just want to make sure we all understood that. Okay. Commissioner Frederickson.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I'll make a motion to place communication 2021-581 on file.
I believe that, do we need to concur with something here? No? Okay.
No.
Thank you. We have a motion and a second to place communication 2021-581 on file. Would everyone please vote? Would anyone care to change their vote? Would the clerk please record the vote?
12 yea, 0 nay.
Motion passes. Thank you, Brad.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Okay, moving along to our second presentation. This is 2021-583. Mike Thatcher, CCCS Chief Executive Officer, requesting Council Commissioners' concurrence for time on the December 29th, 2021 agenda to present on the comprehensive array of mutually beneficial contractual services and programs that CCCS delivers in partnership with Butte-Silver. Presenting will be the SMART Program Administrator, Dan Parrish, Director of CCCS's Mental Health Programs and Services, Kathy Dunks, and Chief Executive Officer Mike Thatcher. Good evening, Mr. Thatcher.
Good evening, Miss Chairwoman, excuse me, Chairwoman Shaw.
Just say
members of the
Madam
commission.
Chair works.
I'm trying to use the
Thank you.
politically correct decorum here. It's been a while since I've approached this local body, so.
Yeah, you didn't have gray hair that time, I don't remember.
That brought back about 25 years ago nightmares of sitting in them chairs, to be honest with you. I want to thank you for the time. I know most of those folks had just left, but I certainly would echo your comments. I applaud the efforts of search and rescue, and I can't think of a better cause to support. So for my 2 cents, I'm throwing in go team, go for the search and rescue, even though they're all gone. I'm not politically posturing here, but I just begin by hoping you all had a good Christmas. I look around the table and I see my classmate, Commissioner Callahan, and I'm certain he got as many boxcars of coal as I have. He's pretty consistent, but and I know the only thing between you guys and half you starting your New Year's celebration is my long-windedness, so I will try to be fairly brief. Kathy Dunks is here, and she will speak to the mental health programs that we provide for you, but Dan Parrish was on his way back from Bozeman, so I probably won't do justice in talking about SMART. I'll give it my best. I did get a little bit of information from him, but he's running some treatment stuff for us down there tonight at our facility, and so I told him don't rush back to meet you folks. My apologies, but I'd be remiss if I didn't take this opportunity to thank you folks and Chief Executive Gallagher and some of his predecessors, certainly the district court judges, Eileen and the county attorney's office. We've had lower court judges, district court judges, Sheriff Lester, Mark Johnson at the jail, just a lot of people. And we've been dealing in a partnership with you folks for a long time. Frankly, probably the first time we got involved with you folks was when the unfortunate, or maybe it was fortunate, Butte-Silver Jail went up in flames in September of 1998. I would be one of those that voted it was probably fortunate and nobody got hurt. It was pretty antiquated. But at that time, you guys were pretty hard pressed to provide food services. You relocated to the what we call the STAR program in Warm Springs, and for 6 years we provided all your food and all your transportation, and you don't even want to know how many meals and how many transports we did for you. It was a lot of work in 6 years, but it just kind of, I just want to go down memory lane briefly because I don't think a lot of folks know how long we've been partnered with you. We've been providing nursing services for you for about I think since 2013. Prior to that, we did a lot of work with your juvenile probation. We ran a community service program where literally one of my own kids and nephews included, supervised kids who got minors in possessions. And I'm watching a couple of folks' heads go down. I'm not here to acknowledge who may have been there, Hattie, but no. I'm just teasing, but we did a mentoring program, we did a shoplifting curriculum, we did a lot of things, but it was all grant-driven. And the problem with grant monies is they go away, and the permanent funding is usually not sustained, or it's not sustainable, and that's the danger anytime you do grants. So a couple of other things, just quickly. It's been kind of an interesting one. We were approached to do Ellie Rally for you folks. We did it for a year, and then we had COVID, took it off. And I think it's important I clarify to you what happens with that. So you guys fund that at $30,000. We hired 9 students, high school and college students, and it cost us $39,000. The summer kids we put on cost us about $100,000. So I just want to dispel if there's a myth or a rumor that we make money off of LE Rally. We don't charge anything for the property. It's really about putting Butte kids to work in the summer. And it was a great group this year. We had 2 incidents. We covered the insurance. There were 2 claims. One was $1,300, one was $1,000, and we ate the cost of those as well because it's our responsibility, not Butte-Silver. It's young kids, and 2 vehicles got damaged, and our deductible is higher than that. So I think it's important that you understand that, because I know there was some concern that, gosh, why do they get involved in this stuff? I think it's a great service. I would speculate you hear from your constituents that they appreciate that little intermediate stop versus leaving half their stuff between here and Browns Gulch. So that's just kind of clarification that. Same thing kind of nursing. What people don't understand, a singular nurse does not fulfill your obligations. You need somebody when somebody takes a vacation or gets sick or whatnot. So we did that at a basement bargain price for you for many, many years, and just couldn't afford to do it. We were actually losing money while we were doing it. So just quickly, I'm going to kind of give you, that's just kind of a little bit of history. We've been doing substance abuse counseling at a lower scale through crime control grants with district court, what's called RSAT monies, and it just recently got refunded again, which was good news. I think you're going to be seeing some kind of a request here because it began October 1, the new federal fiscal year, and the funding isn't going to be approved until this month. It'll be retroactive, though, is my understanding. So that's just kind of a brief of some of the old things we've done. I got a long list here. I probably should have brought a handout for you, and I didn't on this, but we've been providing batterers services for you for, gosh, probably over 20 years as well. And that's people who are convicted of partner, family member assaults. So we have a dedicated trainer and a curriculum and whatnot. The county pays $1,500 a month. Anything we collect off the client goes back to reimburse the county for your cost. So again, it's nothing, we're a nonprofit, we're mission driven. At the end of the day, any revenue we generate has to go back into our staff, our programs, our plants. There's no shareholders like a for-profit company. So again, it's a misperception. Some people think I own the company. Negative. I wish I did. Some days I wish I could retire. But a couple of other quick things. Most of the stuff we do for you folks is pass through. It's on federal dollars. It's grant monies or federal dollars. We do pretrial services for a couple of years. I think I don't know if the sheriff's in here or not. He scrambled. It's mitigated some of the jail overcrowded, even though you're experiencing it today as I talk to you. But we've had thousands of people placed in that program, and we get funded from the state for about $90,000. It's not a big, that's a full-time and about a half-time position. We do GPS and we do smart start units and other types of apparatuses. But it's an important piece of managing your jail population. I'll just leave it at that. Some of the drug court stuff we do, Dan would do a much better job explaining, but we work with both your lower level courts, drug court and district court family services. We do substance abuse counseling, we do CD testing. Again, the majority of that, it's all grant money. It's not any direct money coming out of Butte-Silver budget. It's a pass-through. Couple other things we recently engaged with and again, I can't commend the county attorney's office. I think Eileen and Mike Clegg who did the groundwork in securing these grants. I see Butte-Silver was just recently successful again here the other day in the paper. So what you're trying to do is offer counseling for people that have less than 4 DUIs in the lower courts, and they can have 4 and still get referred to district court 4 or more. I don't necessarily agree with that, but that's the law. So you're trying to divert and save a lot of money and save lives at the same time, and the outcomes would demonstrate pretty effective, very effective. So I'm just going to kind of, before I introduce Kathy, just give you a little bit of background on SMART. I am going to, if I may, do a handout here. And feel free, I ramble a little bit. I'm not very well organized. I was trying to bail out and dump this on Dan and Kathy back there, so I got busted. So a few notes in SMART. We took over SMART. That was the Butte Alcohol and Drug Program, June of 2013. Some of you may remember why. Butte-Silver, and I'm not taking a shot at Butte-Silver. They had lost about $1 million in a 7-year window of time. It was bleeding profusely, and there's a lot of finger pointing that went on. And to be frank with you, it was really driven by the time it took to do a chemical dependency evaluation. Literally, when I walked into the building, People had files 20 deep in their floor, and my first question was, what are they doing in the floor? And then, well, we got to do CD evals. And I said, well, how long does it take you? And they said 2 to 3 months. And that's how you get paid. So it takes us usually 2 to 3 days. So there's kind of a different philosophy in how you hold people accountable is really what it boiled down to. But the reason I pass that out to you, again, you folks have historically supported us 100% in the alcohol tax money. There's more providers in Butte, there's more competition, and I'm not saying that's a bad thing. I think people should have choices when they're getting any kind of help. So that's a good thing. It's not a good thing when 4 or 5 entities and private practitioners are all compete for the same dollar. You can see historically what we've done. Even last year, we probably would have showed an operating loss. We showed a profit of $28,000 for that cost center, and it was driven from a PPP loan for our entire company. A portion of it went to SMART. So first 5 months of this fiscal year, I got financials today, we're about 50 grand in the hole. So again, it's just so to clarify with you is that, contrary to what you think, these aren't money-making entities, contrary to again, the misperception. You can see the years there, we had a couple tough years. We have seen an increase in people, believe it or not, just in the last couple months wanting treatment. When COVID hit, it went crickets. People just did not, they were afraid to go, felt they couldn't afford it. I think healthcare in general took a downslide. We do some telehealth. We're involved with Dr. Ryder out of Anaconda for medication-assisted treatment. But we work with a host of agencies. We work with Southwest Community Health. I'm trying to think of some of them. We work with, federal or state probation, federal probation, the hospital, Action Inc., Job Service, just a myriad of agencies. So my long career, I've been doing this a long time, I've seen more collaboration and more cooperation amongst a lot of agencies than I had ever seen before, which is a good thing. Usually in the past, we all stayed in our own dugout and did our own thing. So we really have, in both the substance abuse and mental health arena, seen a lot more participation from multiple clients. Going back to SMART, whether the numbers mean a lot to you folks or not, again, they use a myriad number of instruments to do assessments and CD evals, et cetera. But in summary, they run anger management classes, criminal and addictive thinking courses, relapse prevention groups, outpatient intensive patient services, CD evals, active prime for life. That's if you get a DUI, you have to go to an all-day class on a Saturday and you pay for it. Minor in possession education. We've started a tobacco minor possession education course. We do peer support. And again, more recently, we got engaged with the Veterans Court here. They have roughly, I think, 7 vet court clients. Start next week, we're going to start doing mental health counseling in addition, just specifically for veterans with the Vets Court out of our SMART office. But, you know, there's a lot of numbers here of how many clients. I don't know if an evaluation means a lot to you. They did 678 and 146 DUI evaluations. DUI court clients in the lower courts, there's 21 clients that we provide services for. So in addition to the counseling, we do monitoring, we do drug testing, so they have to do check-in. It's an ancillary or secondary service for the courts. Again, the greater percentage of all of our funding, short of the nurse, I believe comes from federal grants that are passed through. I'm not doing justice in Dan's presentation, to be honest with you. We recently expanded into Anaconda. They didn't have a provider, so we've opened an office there. And they're having some discussions. We're 100% funded by Anaconda's alcohol tax monies as well. And so, unless somebody has a question, I'm just going to keep moving to try getting you out of here. On the mental health services, we were asked to consider going into that arena several times for, probably almost 2-year period, longer than that, I guess, and had some great hesitation or reluctance to do that. The greatest challenge all providers have is recruiting and retaining staff. I don't care who you are. You got to pay top dollar and top benefits or you're not going to find them. I'm tickled, and I don't want to take away from Kathy's parade here, but we're 100% staffed with licensed mental health professionals. And we have contracts that she'll go into detail about with the jails here in Anaconda and a couple of the hospitals, and it's been bittersweet. It's the number of adolescents that are in that emergency room on a monthly basis just absolutely it floored me. I had no idea how naive I was to how many problems we have, especially in the adolescent arena. And then COVID has exacerbated it, but it's pretty alarming. And again, I'll let her talk about it. The last thing I would go back to SMART is we employ 9 people through SMART, and then our support from the corporate offices, we do their IT, their HR, obviously their training, those kind of functions, their business functions. We do some of the billing to Medicaid, et cetera. Medicaid is a very small portion of our contract. To be frank with you, you'd think it'd be the biggest lion's share of it, but it is not. We do provide services for a high rate of Medicaid clients. And unfortunately, there's not many people in the state that offer inpatient services for Medicaid clients. It's very limited. The only publicly funded facility in our state is Montana Chemical Dependency Center, which is next door to us. And then a handful of places take a handful of beds, but some don't take any at all. Reason being, you get $249 a day for a Medicaid bed. If you're private pay, it can be run from $400 to $700, $800 a day. So it's a business model. So when you go to a SMART, they do levels of care. A brief intervention may determine on a subvert, an assessment, what level of care, what outcome you may need for substances, and whether you need a full-blown chemical dependency evaluation. They'll then determine, do you need outpatient, inpatient, intensive outpatient, et cetera. So it's a kind of a long, comprehensive list. You can't just say, geez, I think my neighbor or my brother needs treatment. It's a process. You cannot get anybody into treatment, inpatient, until they've had a CD eval completed. Most of the old dinosaurs, the old days, you just walk in and they detox you. Nobody got turned away. Unfortunately, now you got to go through a process. Sometimes it takes months to get somebody into treatment, and you wait too long, they either die or they go deeper into the deep end of the swimming pool with their addiction. So without further ado, I'm going to have Kathy come up and talk, and then at the conclusion, if you have questions, like I said, Dan wanted to come back. I told him, don't do it. The highways are bad. Just I'll try to cover SMART as best as I can. So quickly, Kathy, you want to come up? Just a quick history on Kathy. Known Kathy for years. She had retired, and I approached her when I made the decision after meetings with the hospital and some local officials that we would try to take this on. I would only do it on a condition that she'd come out of retirement because it wasn't my wheelhouse. And sometimes I think most of us know you don't go into something if you don't know nothing about it. I was very ignorant of it. And so I give her all the credit. I think she did a hell of a job. I think we're compensating people at a very generous raise. To be fully staffed is unheard of, because recruitment and retention right now in everybody's world is, I'm looking at Justin over there, you can't find carpenters, you can't find treatment people. We're 100% staff in these mental health services. So I'll let her talk about the hospitals and jails, and I'll conclude by thanking you. We appreciate the partnership. We think what we do is important for Butte and Southwest Montana, but it's a two-way street. We couldn't do it without your partnership. So thank you. In conclusion, lastly, have a great new year. Stay healthy and safe. This is Kathy Dunks. I'll let her go. Thank you.
Welcome, Kathy. Nice to see you.
Thank you very much. It's nice to see you all, and thank you for having us. And I'm so glad he didn't tell you. He tells everyone that my husband paid him to get me out of the house. So I was waiting for that. So as he said, I came out of retirement in July of 2 years ago. It'll be 2 years this July. And it's been a whirlwind, and it's just been a great experience. I can't begin to tell you how wonderful it's been to have this kind of collaboration between the city and the hospital and all of the different organizations. So we've been able to put together a good mental health team with crisis response team members. I have a young team. They're very good, they're very dynamic, they want to learn, and they've been able to get their mental health professional licensure, and I think that they've done a great job. So, and we were able to hire Lynn Enkelman, Dr. Lynn Enkelman, to come in and train our folks, and then to help us develop our paperwork to meet all of the arms for the state of Montana, which was very important. So we did that. While we were doing that, We met and helped to work on grants for Butte-Silver, one of which is your county matching tribal grants. And so I helped Shelley and Shelley Cleverly and Lucy Hansen and Danette Gleason and Eileen and all of us worked together on that to make sure that there was funding for the crisis response team. It's a very expensive team to run. It runs the payroll and the benefits run about $400,000 a year because you have 24-hour a day, 7-day a week, 365 days a year coverage. So we're only doing Anaconda and Butte, and those are our priorities, and Butte is our first priority. And we've been approached by many other counties, and I've held a really hard line because I think it's important that we go in person to handle the crises at the hospitals and the jails and the other organizations, and not do it tele, because it's very, very hard for somebody in a mental health crisis to be able to talk to a television and tell them their feelings and how things are going. So Mike has granted me the ability to help some of the other counties set up their own services, which I've done for Powell County and Madison as well. So that's been fun. So I have to say it's been very rewarding. We have a contract with Shodair for the children's services for inpatient as well as outpatient. We have a standing appointment with Shodair's outpatient offices in Butte for any kiddo in need at 9 a.m. Monday through Friday. All we have to do is call them and they'll get that child in for us. If they're getting services from Western or YDI or one of the other services such as Aware, then we have contacts directly with them and the referral is made immediately so that child can be seen within 24 hours. So that's been great to work on. We hit a really big snag with children's services because Shodair stopped doing admissions on children at 12 and under because of their shortage in their staffing. So I was able to meet with St. James pediatricians, and we developed a plan for St. James to allow those kiddos to be able to come in and be admitted to the hospital and to allow their treatment teams to come in and care for them. So our biggest holdup was through the legislature committees because they weren't allowed to charge for the services they were providing to the kiddos. And so those poor kids were just sitting there being warehoused. So we've been working through some of the agencies to get that approved so those kids can still continue to work with their services. And the CRTs go in and see them daily to make sure that they're doing well and everything is going well. And that's worked out fine. We've done some referrals to Intermountain. We've had to send a few kids to as far away as eastern Idaho, which is really, hard to do. You want your kids to stay locally. But to give you an idea of how many children we see, we average in Butte alone 87 crisis calls per month. And that's a rough average. There's months that it's much higher. Some months are a little bit lower. Out of that 87, you're probably looking at 16 of those contacts being kids. We've seen kids as young as 3 years old and up to, we consider them children up to the age of 18. So we've done probably, I'd say 4 a month of admissions to Shodair for inpatient services. The other children have been referred, and a few out of state, of course, to Idaho, especially if there's a high portion of violence, because Shodair has a limit is how they can handle stuff like that. So approximately 45% of the adults that we see have co-occurring diseases. So we're dealing with alcohol and drugs. We work really closely with Mark Johnson at the Detention Center because sometimes if we have someone that's on meth and needs a mental health eval, we can't legally do a mental health evaluation on those folks until they're sober. So with meth, the question is, how long does that take? The general consensus now is 72 hours. So the hospital cannot maintain them, especially if they're violent. So we've had to do protective custodies in the jail to make sure that those people are safe until we can go in and evaluate them for placement. So we probably, in the last 17 months, we've done 72 involuntary commitments. Of those 72, about 74% have been committed at their second hearing, which tells me my team has done a very good job, that we're not sending people to the state hospital that don't need to go to the state hospital, because that would be a terrible crime against their rights. So, and the other folks in the meantime have been out there and they've got back on meds, they've done some referrals, and they've done very well. So that's been, you know, just really good to see. We do a lot of admissions to Providence Center and Missoula, and they love us because we have our own transportation. So when the folks complete their treatment in Missoula or in Helena Behavioral Health, we actually go and get them and bring them home. Otherwise, they're lost. They don't know how to get back. So they work really closely with us. We've had some great successes. So we also were part of a coalition with St. James Hospital to do a mapping, a SIMS mapping for mental health care for adults and children. And we all, you know, all the agencies in Butte participated. And so that's going to come out in a book, and that will be out probably next month. And it's a nice guide for everyone in the community on how to access mental health, what they provide, and different services. So we've also helped to bring in the 211 emergency numbers for the state of Montana for crisis calls, and that's actually available to our people right now. So that's been good. The detention center services, I touch base with Mark Johnson almost weekly to make sure that he's happy. Said he's never had better services than he has now. I have changed things a little bit because of the liability that I felt that you were in as a county with not having any documentation. So I have changed it. We do a complete initial assessment on every single client that's requesting or has been referred for mental health. We keep that documentation. We document every one of our contacts, and we keep them electronically, so if there's any kind of legality or issues down the road, that you have that as support, that you have provided the mental health care. So, and that was important to me, because I think that was just really leaving you open for some issues. So we have a therapist up there who works 20 hours a week, and we have a full-time case manager and a full-time care coordinator. Those positions are all paid for with grant monies. We have the grant from the county matching. We have a SAMHSA grant that we were gifted a second year because of the good data that we provided them, and they're using that data for their national reports because we included so much of the COVID questions in our actual CRT evaluations. So we were given a second year of that grant. And then we had a grant from the Department of Corrections, and that helped us be a part of the FUSE program in town for the frequent users of services, because we were able to help people that had felonies and had a history of correctional stays, for lack of a better term, find housing. And not just find housing, but return to the communities where their families were, or to return to where their jobs were, or to help them pay their rent while they were incarcerated so they could have a safe home to go home to. So, and that was very valuable, and we helped a lot of people. We placed quite a few folks in sober living facilities, and so it was successful, and that was it just ended this month. So I'll miss that money because it was nice, and they were good to me. I would call and ask for all kinds of silly things, and they just laugh and say, whatever, Kat, just go ahead. So it's nice to be old. They don't expect much from me. But excuse me, it's been really a good years. It has, and I'm so glad to end my career like this. So if you have any questions, I'm open for them. I tend to babble, sorry. Cindy knows me too well.
Thank you, Kathy. I don't think any of us had any idea all the, background things that you folks do that nobody ever hears about. And
Yeah.
it's nice to be able to come up before council, and also this is on the record,
Right. And actually, I said to Mike, we've actually accomplished in 17 months what took 5 years to develop before, because this is my 31st year in mental health, and it's very, very lovely to have somebody who really does feel that the community is the most important thing. Because when I go to him and say, you know, I want to be a part of this, and it's going to cost us this much money, and he's like, go ahead, do it, if it's good for the community. So, and while we're talking about that, also, I didn't tell you, but we're doing training, and we've offered to have our staff trained to do training for all of the officers, including your firemen, for the mental health first aid, which is required for your staff. And so my people will be trained for that in the next month and a half, and then they will be offering that free, of course, to all of your officers. Awesome. So, and then we'll be using that as well. And we've actually increased our mental health programs in all of our facilities as well with Watch and Star. So it's been good. It's been a nice evolution. So.
Nice to see you smiling.
Yeah, it's fun. Mike tells me when I stop having fun, I can leave, so, but I'm still enjoying it, so.
Any other council members have any questions or comments for either Mike or Kathy? Commissioner Thatcher.
Thank you. I just wanted to say that piece of paper I handed, just for clarification, was a piece of paper that got mixed in with this stuff, so nothing sketchy. Thank you.
Commissioner Anderson, and then Commissioner Shea.
I'll just go on record as saying, having worked in the ER for a while, your staff has been doing a marvelous job over there. And the efficiency and everything, I know it's very well appreciated across the board. And I really appreciated what you said about the video tablets. And not getting rid of those was a stroke of genius. It made my life personally an awful lot easier, so thank you.
And I maintain my staff have to be in contact with the ER within 1 hour. If they're at a call and they slip out for 5 minutes, call them, give them an ETA, otherwise they're there in person within an hour. So, and I think it's so important, because by the time we get to the emergency room, sometimes the staff is in crisis as the person we're seeing. You don't know what they've been handling, you don't know what's been going on. So a lot of times we're doing some de-escalation before we enter the room. So it's very important that they know we're on our way. So,
Well, no, they do a great job of all that, so thank you.
thank you.
Commissioner Shea?
Thank you, Madam Chair. Again, I don't have any questions, but I have nothing but good things to say. I think it's pretty difficult for some of us to even imagine the trauma and the situations that some people are in, and it's really easy to sit back and judge, and you guys don't do that. And you're very compassionate, you're very caring, and I just think it's wonderful, the services that you and your staff provide to this community, because I really don't know a community that cares for one another the way Butte does, and you guys are just epitomizing that. You're just doing a wonderful thing and a wonderful service.
Thank you. It's so nice to be appreciated, believe me, it really and truly is. And, you know, and this is a great town. It's good to be part of. So.
Commissioner Sorge? And then Commissioner Callahan.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Thank you for your presentation, and again, all the good work you do for our community. You know, there's a lot of things that most people don't see. You know, you can, anytime I call down, need help with the county fair, or you need help to this, you know, there are always people more than willing to help out. But I do have a question for you, though. I don't know if it's for you or Mike. My question is being, do you ever foresee CCCS moving into like the juvenile holding cells or juvenile detention in Butte?
Mr. Thatcher.
Madam Chairman, members of the commission, the $1 million, the elephant in the room question. Commissioner Sorge, we've been exploring relocating our uptown facility since 2008. We operate, matter of fact, it was our 38th anniversary Christmas Eve. Took our first 4 guys, December 24th, 1983. 40 below zero, kind of sounds familiar. We didn't have any heat. We've had thousands upon thousands of people complete those programs. Those buildings were constructed in 1898 and 1902, and 38 years later, they're tired. We've been we've submitted proposals to build from the ground up, state-of-the-art facilities, looked at land here in town, we've looked at land outside, we own a lot of land over by Anaconda where the START facility is. We've looked at all options, including the juvenile facility. We very much would like to be part of those discussions to relocate from uptown and do something with our properties if there's parties interested. The million-dollar question is always, it's an executive and legislative decision, and it's finding dollars and long-term contracts and lenders that will give you that kind of money. But there has been dialogue that's been ongoing. I'm cautiously optimistic that the new year will bring some progress. Again, we've looked at alternative buildings in this town. We've looked at alternative buildings outside of Butte, and that's the last thing I want to do. Of course, from here, we got 90 people down on Broadway Street just at that program whose livelihoods are pretty dependent on it. And I think it was Commissioner Shader, one he has touched on. You know, the folks in the programs do about 20,000, 30,000 hours of community service a year. Your Civic Center is a prime example. It's pretty ironic when your security guys at the doors are guys and gals from the Butte Release Center, isn't it? Even I can't sneak in. Can you believe that? So it's something that's ongoing, Commissioner Sorich. And, you know, I inadvertently too, I failed to mention a couple of people that we owe a lot of gratitude to, and it would be Danette Gleason and Lucy and Shelley Cleverly and this guy over here. I just try to ignore him purposely, but the Public Works and that
It's hard to ignore.
these guys have been fabulous to work with. You know, and again, I think it was an issue where nobody wanted to manage young kids, and I got to defend them. These guys are great. They're no different than the rest of us at 16, 17, and 18. If you see an opening and you think you can get out a little bit of work, by golly, you're going to do it. And we did it a little differently. We gave the college guys $1 more an hour, and they kind of mentored the high school kids. It was a good partnership. But back to that, John, it's we're in a short-term contract, and my greatest fear is if we don't find an alternative soon, that the program faces the eventuality of possibly being phased out. Because them buildings down there, to get upgraded to what we would have to do, I'm looking at Justin over there in the construction world, be multiple millions. We went in there when the Uniform Building Code didn't require an elevator. We got a 4-story building without an elevator. So even a guy like me should practice. That guy used to have to deliver Coca-Cola there. He remembers. It's not very pleasant going up 4 flights of stairs. It's pretty obvious I pulled a hamstring about 20 years ago and I'm refusing to go up them stairs. But it's something that we've tried to work with the state and the legislature. And we're optimistic, John. We hope we can put something together.
All right. Follow up, Commissioner
Thank you, Madam
Sorich?
Chair. Mike, thank you very much.
Yeah, no, thank all you guys. Seriously, have a great new year. We appreciate your partnership and appreciate your time.
Absolutely.
Ho,
Thank
ho,
you so
ho.
much.
Merry Christmas, huh?
Oh, yeah. And go Kathy. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
Oh, Commissioner Callahan, wait a minute.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Thank you, Ms. Dunks, and I never thought I'd be talking to Mike as a Mr. Thatcher, but apparently tonight I'll call him Mr. Thatcher. And Mike kind of touched on base on how many thousands of hours of volunteer hours that you guys' programs do in our community. And many of the events, and Mr. Lazary can, speak for this. If it wasn't for all the volunteer hours, we wouldn't be able to have a lot of the events we have in our community.
And he's very humble. He never
And
tells
he-
people
right,
half of
he
it.
didn't mention that, and he also didn't mention how many hundreds of employees you guys have. that,
There's
you
over
know,
500 on our payroll. Yes.
Yeah, so, I mean, it's a big deal for our community, and we really appreciate helping you wherever we can, and all I can do is say thank you. We appreciate you.
Thanks again.
Thank you.
Happy New Year.
Happy New Year. Take care.
Okay, well, now we're getting down to Section 2, our communications. And we will begin with item 1 is communication number 2021-131, Ed Lester, Butte-Silver Sheriff, requesting Council of Commissioners concurrence and authorization for the Chief Executive to sign the MOU between Butte-Silver and the Southwest Montana Drug Task Force. I spoke with Sheriff Lester this afternoon, and we both agreed that we could place this one on file. He's still waiting for actually some changes to made to the MOU, and it would just mean that whatever attachments would be more current. So we're just going to place this one file, if that's all right with the rest of the council members. So Commissioner Frederickson.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I move to place communication 2021-131 on file.
We have a motion and a second to place communication 2021-131 on file. Would everyone please vote? Or is there anything on the question? Excuse me. Would everyone please vote? Oh, question, Commissioner O'Neill.
Thanks, Madam Chair. So it's placed on file, it's off here, and it's signed, or I'm confused.
No, you're,
Because
very good question.
The reason why I'm asking this is, and no shots at you, Sheriff, but it's been on there forever. It feels like it's a 2-year thing, and again, I know you
Now it
don't
hasn't
beat me
been
up
2
or
years.
pull me over later. It's been a year and a half, or a whole year at least, right?
2020.
So I'm just asking why, and
Okay,
I know it's in place, but it's not, so I'm confused. Thank you.
No,
Sheriff
this, thank you, Madam Chair. For the record, I'm Sheriff Ed Lister. No, it won't be signed. What happened is they submitted what I believed was the same MOU that we normally have been using since I've been the sheriff for 9 years. I submitted it to the council without reading it, and then they said, "Did you see those changes?" I said, "No, I didn't see any changes," but I didn't really look either. So the changes involve what the state is going to pay versus what we are going to pay. So we're working to get together with that. And so I would guess within the next couple of weeks, we'll figure it out and get it back to you. But it'll be a whole new MOU.
okay, thank you. All right, again, we got O'Neill. Commissioner O'Neill, thank you. Anyone would like to change their vote? Would the clerk please record that vote?
12 yeas, 0 nay.
Motion passes. All right, moving along to item 2. This is, my cheaters here. Communication 2021-299, Tristan Thomas, residing in Butte, Montana, requesting Council of Commissioners to authorize Tristan Thomas to purchase the following property located at 2422 Pine Street, Butte, Montana. I believe this survey is still being worked on. Is that correct, County Attorney Joyce? All right. So that we will hold in abeyance simply because we're waiting for the survey. Number 3 is communication number 2021-335, Michael and Kelly Ann Hofen, 241 William Street, Walkerville, requesting Council of Commissioners authorization to purchase vacant land currently owned by Butte-Silver. The land we are hoping to acquire includes 1.06 acre parcel and a segment of another 10-acre tract. This is similar to Mr. Thomas, where they are holding this for a survey, and these just take a while, so we will continue holding that in abeyance. Item 4, communication number 2021-570, Karen Malachny, Butte-Silver Interim Health Officer, requesting Council of Commissioners authorization to schedule a public hearing for December 15th, 2021, for the purpose of amending the fiscal year 2021-22 budget to allow for increased expenditures of unanticipated revenue resulting from an amendment to the Public Health Emergency Preparedness Grant. We did have that occur on the 15th. Commissioner Frederickson.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I move to place communication 2021-570 on file.
Thank you. We have a motion and a second to place communication 2021-570 on file. Anything on the question? Would everyone please vote? Would anyone care to change their vote? Would the clerk please record the vote?
12 yeas, 0 nay.
Motion passes. Item 5, communication 2021-571, Karen Malachny, Butte-Silver Interim Health Officer, requesting Council of Commissioners authorization to schedule a public hearing for December 15th, 2021, for the purpose of amending the fiscal year 2021-22 budget to allow for increased expenditures of unanticipated revenue resulting from an amendment to the immunization grant. Commissioner Frederickson.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I move to place communication 2021-571 on file.
Second.
We have a motion and a second to place communication 2021-571 on file. Is there anything on the question? Would everyone please vote? Would anyone care to change their vote? Would the clerk please record the vote?
12 yeas, 0 nay.
Motion passes. Item 6, communication 2021-574, Mark Neary, Public Works Director, requesting Council of Commissioners authorization to schedule a public hearing for December 15th, 2021, for the purpose of soliciting comments on the preliminary engineering report for the 2021 Water Master Plan. And that did occur on the 15th as well. Commissioner Frederickson.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I move to place communication 2021-574 on file.
Second.
We have a motion and a second to place communication 2021-574 on file. Is there anything on the question? Would everyone please vote? Would anyone care to change their vote? Would the clerk please record the vote?
12 yea, 0 nay.
Motion passes. Item 7 has already been placed on file. That was 2021-581, Brad Belke, to have his presentation tonight, so we will skip that one. Item 8, communication number 2021-583, Mike Thatcher, CCCS Chief Executive Officer, requesting Council of Commissioners concurrence for a time on the December 29th, 21 agenda to present on the comprehensive array of mutually beneficial contractual services and programs that CCCS delivers in partnership with Butte-Silver. Presented will be SMART Program Administrator Dan Parrish, Director of CCCS's Mental Health Programs and Services Kathy Dunks, and Chief Executive Officer Mike Thatcher. We just had that presentation. Commissioner Frederickson.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I move to place communication 2021-583 on file.
Second.
We have a motion and a second to place communication 2021-583 on file. Anything on the question? Would everyone please vote? Would anyone care to change their vote? Would the clerk please record the vote?
12 yea, 0 nay.
Motion passes. Item 9, communication number 2021-597. Bob Lazary, Parks and Recs Director, requesting Council of Commissioners authorization for Chief Executive Gallagher to sign a renewal of the lease agreement between the City and County of Butte-Silver and Rocky Mountain Martial Arts. The lease is for the Longfellow Center building at 3233 Kennedy Avenue. This was segregated out of our agenda last regular meeting. And so at this time, I would ask Mr. Lazary to come forward with his guest. And I believe some of the questions had to do with the lease itself, of course, and maybe you could begin by giving us a little history on that building. How does that sound? Thank you. Yep. Turn it on. There you go.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Thank you, Commissioners. I apologize I wasn't here at the last meeting. I had a family meeting. So anyway, on this lease agreement, I'm asking you guys to give JP the okay to sign. It's for the Rocky Mountain Martial Arts. So that lease has been in place. You know, when I was talking to Ms. Leitner, she told me that since 1996, it's been $100 a month. Last year, we were looking at it, we recognized that this building is worth more than $100 a month. I think Sarah probably recognized that also. So when we renewed it, I called Mike McLeod to give me some comps on what that lease is worth. He came up with, with that building where it's at, he thought $700, $800 a month. So of course I didn't question him, I still don't. But along those lines, after talking to Sarah, I know through COVID she was having a hard time. We're raising her rent. She has customers that she has to increase her ask. So I suggested to her that we'd raise it $300 for the first year a month, $500 for the second year. And the third year would be up to $700 a month, which was what Mike McLeod came up with a price. So if there's any questions on that, I guess that's why I'm here.
Question from the council? Commissioner Reardon.
Thanks, Madam Chair. Mr. Lazary. I really don't have a question. I just want to, I guess, applaud the work that you're doing, you and County Attorney Joyce, in bringing these leases up to date and letting people on the commission know what's going on. Obviously, I think that what really awestruck the members of the commission last week was the facting of the $100 a month rent. But what I'm understanding too also, it's kind of a you scratch my back, I scratch yours, because I believe that there's some water lines or something in this building that are being taken care of during this lease agreement. And basically, that where there's water, especially during winter, there's got to be heat. And I don't think anybody was really questioning it somewhat. It's just really what's going on here. And like I said, in working with you on one scenario that we had, people don't realize the work that goes behind getting these agreements done and reviewing these leases. So I just wanted to thank you too for your work and helping a member of our community to still flourish and get on their feet after the pandemic. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner.
Any other questions from the council members? Commissioner Fortune.
I just have like a comment, I guess, because I was the one who segregated this, but I guess my suggestion last week was to, and I don't want to sound insulting, but I think it's crazy that Butte-Silver owns a building and I guess doesn't offer it to the public or charge fair market value. And if McLeod says it's worth $700 to $800, I think that's what Butte-Silver should be charging. And I get that it's a hard adjustment to go from $100 to $700, but it's kind of the world we live in. The building is appraised at what it should be, and I think if we own it and we keep putting money into it, we should get something out of it. And I think that anybody would rent that building. And I guess just another comment, but not to really sound like a hard ass, but I think every fitness martial arts place struggled through COVID, and I think if you're a for-profit business and your competitors are paying double the rent, it's kind of insulting.
Mr. Lazary, would you care to comment?
So again, Commissioner Fortune, so I thought moving forward, we're trying to get this lease up to where we thought the market value was. Again, I went to a third party because I didn't know what the value was, so that's kind of how it got there. As far as the charging $300 for the first 12 months, then $500 moving up, that was my idea to give Sarah after COVID back in. I guess maybe I didn't consider the other places in town, but that was I thought it was fair at the time. So.
Okay. Any other questions from council members? Commissioner Callahan.
I'd just like to make a comment. I thank you, Bob, for taking care of these people in the way you do. And I'm concerned why, this was brought up this week when wasn't many weeks ago. We just approved a contract with a building 10 to 15 times the size, and we're charging $1 a year. And they didn't fulfill their contract. They had numerous people complaining for years. And we just went ahead and signed off on that, and there was no comments or complaints. So it kind of concerns me that these people have been a good renter. They take care of the building, they do good things for the community, and then to turn around and think that, they're not getting charged enough. I just think that's unfortunate. They're doing good things for our community, and I appreciate what you're doing. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay. Any other comments? Commissioner Fisher.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Thank you, Mr. Lazary. This building lies in District 6, which I represent, and it has been a bone of contention for a lot of years with the $3,600 three-year contract. It's come time now that we have started to investigate a little more leases that Butte-Silver counties have with other people, and I think it was Commissioner Reardon and some others brought it up here a month or so ago to start reviewing these. I do think that the rent is pretty reasonable, more than reasonable, but I don't think we can put the toothpaste back in the tube. And we went great strides. We're getting more in 1 year than we got in 3 years. And I realize that that might not be acceptable to a lot of people, but I agree that you can't just jump the rent from $100 to $700. That's percentage-wise unforeseeable. And they're a good tenant, I understand, and I think they might do some things for underprivileged kids to participate in events that they run. So at this time, I would make a motion that we concur and place on file communication 2021-597. Thank you.
We have a motion and a second to concur with 2021-597 and place it on file. Is there anything on the question? Would everyone please vote? Would anyone care to change their vote? Would the clerk please record the vote?
11 yea, 1 nay.
Motion passes.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Happy New Year to you.
You too.
Okay, moving on to our last item here, we have item 10, communication number 2021-598. Mark Neary, Public Works Director, requesting Council Commissioners' concurrence to schedule a public hearing for January 5th, 2022 for the purpose of amending the fiscal year 21-22 budget to allow for increased expenditures of unanticipated revenue. We will hold that in abeyance until next Wednesday. Anything else before I ask for a public comment for anyone in the audience? Mark, would you like to make a comment? I had to ask. Okay. Well, anything else to come before us? Other than Happy New Year to everyone. We'll see you next year. I won't be attending next week's meeting, but Commissioner Frederickson will take over for me, and I would just say good evening and ask for a motion to adjourn. Motion to adjourn. We have a motion to adjourn and a second. All in favor, aye?